Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Jasmine, and welcome back for another weekly weigh-in vlog. For any of you who might be new here, hi, welcome. I am Jasmine, and I already said that. I have been on a weight loss journey since January 1st of 2024, and I have been utilizing the GLP-1 compounded medication tirzepatide for most of said journey. I recently, as in 2 weeks ago, completely came off of my GLP-1 medication, but I still have a little over 50 pounds to lose to get to my ultimate goal weight. As of right now, I am still continuing my weight loss journey, just naturally. So if following people on the internet who are trying to lose weight is something you're into, then be sure to hit that subscribe button. Before we get into this week's weigh-in, I did want to talk about my most recent discovery, and I am very late to the game on this. I know this is literally nothing new. I personally have just tried it for the first time literally yesterday. So basically this is a Proffee, or a protein iced coffee, and I know, like I said, people have been doing this for literally years and I am late to the game, but oh my gosh, you guys, this is actually a game changer for me. So what this is it is a double shot of blonde espresso over ice in a venti cup from Starbucks, and then I just added my Fairlife milk chocolate protein shake, which the whole shake fits in the cup, and I also added 1 tablespoon of my Skinny Syrups, I think it's the brown sugar cinnamon flavor syrup, and then I also added 2 teaspoons of the stevia brown sugar substitute, both of which those are 0 calories. By the way, the brown sugar substitute is delicious. I recently picked that up and tried it for the first time as well, and it's bomb. But yeah, this drink right here is so good. And then I also added cinnamon on top, so this honestly tastes like a chocolate cinnamon, I don't even know, like it almost is giving me like cinnamon churro vibes, because you know how some churros have like the chocolate in the middle? That's almost the vibes I'm getting with this. And also the cool part about it is that when you order just the shots of espresso in the cup, it is a lot cheaper than buying an actual Starbucks drink. Like I usually get a grande skinny cinnamon dolce, and it is right around $6 to $7 for that. This was only $3 and some change. So that is a hack, and I know I'm late to the game, but if you haven't tried it, I highly recommend. Also, I guess I should mention this whole beverage is only 160 calories with 30 grams of protein. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and move right along into this week's weigh-in. So I mentioned in the previous several vlogs now that I had moved my official weigh-in days to Fridays. Today is Tuesday, by the way. Today is Tuesday, October the 28th, which I cannot believe we're already at the end of October. Literally, Halloween is this Friday, and this video is going up on Thursday, so if you're watching this on Friday, happy Halloween. But yeah, that's crazy. So I'm going to be going over my weigh-in from Friday, October 24th. So starting with Friday, October the 17th, I had weighed in at 194.8. On Friday, October 24th, I weighed in at 196. So that is a gain of 1.2 pounds for that week. And yeah, last week's vlog was basically me talking about how I have been steady gaining weight since coming off of my GLP-1, basically. That week was no different. However, I do have a silver lining to share, and that is that I have continued to weigh myself every single day, which I know I said I was going to stop doing that, but I haven't. So that being said, though, since weighing myself every single day since last Friday, the scale has gone down, and it's gone down actually substantially so. So I am gonna go ahead and just tell you guys I weighed myself last Tuesday, and I shared that in last week's video. So last Tuesday, the scale had gone up even more, actually. It was at 198.8. I weighed myself this morning, so this Tuesday morning, and the scale is down to 193.6, which I feel like I've just finally hit a freaking like whoosh. Like, yeah, the scale is finally going down, and I am going to be completely honest with you guys about why I think that is. And yeah, I'm going to get real honest with you guys in today's vlog, and we're just gonna have a kind of come to Jesus moment, if you will, both for myself but also for any of you out there who might be struggling in a stall. I think it's time we have a talk, and this is going to be kind of a hard talk to have, but yeah, it's time to be honest with ourselves. Before we have our little come to Jesus moment though, I do want to give a quick shouts out to the sponsor of today's video, which is Runstar. I will be honest with you guys, I already have a smart scale, and my little like screen recordings I put of my weigh-ins are using my Fit Index smart scale. The difference between that smart scale and this bad boy right here is actually that this one has more touch points, electrode points, I don't know what you honestly call them, but yeah, so basically how you have these little spots, you know, where you put your feet. My Fit Index scale has those, but this has a detachable handle with added electrodes on the back. And so what that does is it basically gives you a more like comprehensive view of your entire body as far as your like muscle mass and weight and water weight and all of the things. It breaks it all down. The Runstar 8E Smart Scan Pro Body Fat Scale is a Bluetooth smart scale that pairs to your phone using the StarFit app. After downloading the app, I was able to connect the smart scale through Bluetooth in seconds. It automatically syncs every weigh-in, so all of your stats are saved right to your phone. This smart scale is honestly superior to any other smart scale I've tried, so if you want to check it out, I'll leave all the details down in the description box below. I just want to thank all of you wonderful people who watch my content and interact with it and like and comment and all of the things, because that is what makes it to where companies like Runstar want to continue to work with me. So thank you, Runstar, for sponsoring today's video, and let's just get right back into what we were talking about. Okay. So like I talked about in last week's weigh-in vlog, I have hit a plateau, or I had been hitting a plateau for about the past 3 months. I was honestly just kind of staying in the mid to upper 190s, and I was really struggling with it, honestly. And in last week's video, you know, I talked about it, about how I felt like I was doing all the things and nothing had really changed except that I had come off of my GLP-1, and it felt like now it just almost felt like impossible, like the weight was just not going to come off. I had to honestly sit down with myself this past week, and I had to get really honest with myself. And I think when you're on a weight loss journey, especially when you have a large amount of weight to lose, you know, when I first started my journey at over 340 pounds, I was looking at needing to lose over 200 pounds. So honestly, for the first like year of my journey, I did not have to make super dramatic changes to lose the bulk of my weight. Like the first 100 pounds of my weight loss journey honestly came off like relatively easily. And I know that that sounds, you know, I'm not trying to like say it's easy to lose 100 pounds, obviously not, but what I will say is that the amount of effort, the amount of changes, lifestyle changes that I personally had to make to get the scale to move, it just was not to the same degree or level that I'm finding that I'm having to do now that I am closer to my goal weight. I'm finding that I'm actually having to take a real look at my habits and at what I'm doing as far as how I'm moving my body, and most importantly, what I am eating. And if I am being honest with myself, I was not really tracking appropriately for at least the past 3 months. And I think I was maybe getting away with it. Before that, the weight was still coming off, even though I was kind of doing the same things. Like, what I was doing is I would track my foods Monday through Friday, and then the weekends would come and I wouldn't track anything, and I would just kind of eat whatever I felt like. And I was still losing weight. The scale was still going down. And I think that what has honestly just happened is that I've now lost 150 pounds. My BMR has gone down. My basal metabolic rate has decreased. And so when that happens, you do have to periodically kind of stop and take a look at it and adjust your calorie intake. And if you're somebody who's not honestly tracking every single day, if you're somebody who is like I was and you're tracking Monday through Friday and then maybe just kind of being lenient with yourself on the weekends, so you don't really know how much you're eating on the weekends, chances are, if you are in a plateau, the hard truth is that you probably are eating more calories than you realize on the days that you're not tracking. And it is incredibly easy to do. And I have realized this in just the past, like, honestly 2 weeks, that I have been actually tracking what I am eating every single day, including the weekends. It has come to my realization that I was in fact overeating on the weekends, and it just wasn't affecting the scale as much because I was in a heavier body, and so my BMR was higher and I could just get away with that. I have now reached a point where I can't get away with it. I can't keep lying to myself. I can't keep doing the same things I was doing. Things have to change. And so I did. I went in and I looked at my BMR, which one thing I will say that I really like about this Runstar scale is that it gives you your BMR, and it's based on your weight, but also all of the metrics that it measures, you know, your body fat and water and muscle and all of that. It takes all of that into account and gives you a more accurate, or at least very close to accurate, idea of what your basal metabolic rate is as it currently stands. And so I looked at that number, and I also went into my Apple Health app on my phone, because I do wear my Apple Watch every single day, all day. And if you go into the app, it'll actually show you like kind of an estimate of how many calories you're burning just on a day-by-day basis, just based on your activity, you know, based on how many steps you're taking. And obviously it tracks my weight and all of that as well. And so basically I looked at that number, and the thing I like about the Apple Health app is that it gives you an average. So it breaks it down by like your monthly average, and then like the past, I want to say like 6 months, and even the past year. It can tell you like on average how many steps you've taken every day for the past year. And so that's pretty cool and pretty helpful. But I looked at the past, I want to say like 6 months, and I also looked at the past month to see on average how many calories am I burning just on a day-by-day basis. And I took that number and I subtracted 500 calories, and it was brought to my attention that I in fact have been eating more calories than I should be. Based on my current, where I stand and all of my metrics and things, I should be eating 1500 to 1550 calories on average every single day. And I looked at my Net Diary app, which is what I use to track my food. And one of you had mentioned, and I forget which video, but in a comment somebody had mentioned to make sure that the settings on my Minute Diary app were set to like the correct activity level basically. And so I looked at it and my activity level was set to like active, which when you do that, it does give you more calories. But based on my own like calculations and math that I did, and then comparing it to the Minute Diary app, I realized that setting my activity level to sedentary actually puts my calories at a more reasonable range of where they should be, which is right around that like 1550-ish a day average. So I did change that. Now I do still have it set to where I cycle my calories. So basically I am eating less calories Monday through Friday, and then I have a little bit more calories on the weekends. So based on doing that, my current calorie range is 1400 Monday through Friday, and then it does bump it up to 2000. In my own calculations though, I would say really it's 1700 to 2000 is kind of the range I should be trying to hit on the weekends, but definitely no more than 2000. And so yeah, so this past weekend I did that. I tracked my calories this past weekend, stayed at that 2000 mark, and lo and behold, the scale's moving, you guys. The scale's moving, and it's moving quite a bit. So like I said, last Tuesday 198.8, today 193.6. that is 5.2 pounds lost. Now I'm not going to sit here and say I think that that's all fat. Obviously there's a lot of things that play into that weigh-in, like water and hormones and all the things, you know, I realize that, but the fact of the matter is that the scale is going down, and the scale is even lower than it was on my Friday weigh-in. So I know I'm doing something right. I think that tracking my weekends and actually holding myself accountable and being honest with myself has been the difference. And so yeah, I can say personally that I know I was not being 100% honest with myself for at least the past 3 months. I was not being honest with myself, particularly on the weekends, but even sometimes during the week. And I actually went back into my Minute Diary just because I was curious. I looked at like the month of September, because in the month of September I didn't lose any weight at all. And so I looked at my like daily logs. Now mind you, I didn't log like a single weekend in September, but I looked at my Monday through Friday logs for September, and on average I was eating anywhere from 1550 to like 16, some days even 1700 calories a day Monday through Friday, and then I wasn't tracking my weekends. So it makes sense why I've hit this plateau, because I have been in the 190s now basically for the past 3 months, and I genuinely believe it was because I was eating too much. And mind you, for most of those 3 months I was still on my GLP-1. I only just recently came off my GLP-1, and so I think more than coming off the GLP-1, I really think it's the food, it's the calories. It's the math. At the end of the day, I was eating too many calories, and I was kind of being delusional about it and trying to act like I wasn't eating that much. But when I actually am honest with myself, and when I actually put the food in the tracker, I'm realizing like, yeah, you were eating way more than you were thinking you were. Like for months I was doing this to myself, you guys, for months. So this is my warning to anyone on a weight loss journey, especially if you have a large amount of weight to lose. Do not let it take 3 months of stalling to realize that it's the food, that you're eating too much. Like if you are stalling for 3 months, you're eating too much, probably. More than like I would put money on it that you are eating too many calories, and you just aren't either being honest with yourself about it, or you're just not aware of it because you're just not tracking it. So yeah, I would say honestly just getting honest with yourself and tracking what you're eating for at least 2 weeks. Like every single thing you put in your mouth, you're tracking it, and you know you're in a deficit, then you will see the scale move. But if you track everything for 2 weeks and the scale doesn't budge, then odds are it's time to lower the calories. And I think I personally have had a hard time doing this. Like, I have had a hard time lowering my calories because I have always kind of had the mindset that I want to not crash my BMR. I want to be able to eat as many calories as possible and still lose weight. And so that's the other thing. Like yesterday, I was thinking about it to myself, you know, prior to me having my little come to Jesus moment, I was literally in my brain thinking that I had broken my metabolism, you guys. Like, I legitimately was thinking that I f***ed up. I've been dieting for 2 years and now I've f***ed my metabolism and I'm just not gonna be able to lose another single pound. Like, I genuinely was in my head thinking this. But the reality is that for the past 2 years that I've been on this weight loss journey, I have made a conscious effort to not crash my metabolism. I have made a conscious effort to eat enough calories so that I do not mess up my BMR and make it to where I need to eat 1,200 calories to lose weight. Like, I have made that a thing. So it doesn't make any sense that out of nowhere I would be going from able to lose weight eating 1,600 calories a day to now gaining weight at 1,600 calories a day, like overnight, and not being able to lose weight unless I'm eating like 800 calories. Like, I don't know, I was getting all in my freaking brain about it, and this is when I went down the rabbit hole. And so I think having to kind of take a step back and just kind of start from square one. I mean, obviously not starting over, but honestly just, yeah, like taking a step back, looking back at my TDEE calculator, doing the math myself, not just relying on an app to tell me how many calories to eat, but actually like doing the math myself and just being honest with it as well, you know, being honest. And another thing I did that I think was helpful when it comes to activity levels, that can be really tricky when you're doing like a TDEE calculator type situation. So what I found helpful is I went into Chat GPT and I just straight up told Chat, you know, my activity, like what I do. I told it, you know, I work 3 days a week as a nurse, and on the other days I'm on my feet with my toddler. I told it on average how many steps I take in a day based on what my Apple Watch told me. And then I told it, you know, my workout routine, how I work out 5 times a week. And so I told it all that information, and it told me, you know, it gave me what my activity level would probably be, you know, for a calculator like that. And so if you're someone who doesn't really know your activity level, I would recommend trying that. Because that does impact things, you know, it does. And that's not to say that you can outwork a bad diet, but if you're somebody who is super active, then you probably do need to eat more calories than if you're someone who isn't working out or doing anything. So anyways, yeah, I don't know, that's a side note. But another thing though is, you know, I am very short. I am only 5'3", and so one thing I am coming to find out is that unfortunately for all of us short people, we tend to not be able to eat as many calories as people who are maybe taller, particularly when we're trying to lose weight. And so yeah, I'm finding that the closer I get to goal weight, I'm starting to have to dip my calories down. And eating 1,400 calories a day, honestly, it did sound pretty scary up until I started doing it. You know, I've been doing it now for about the past 2 weeks, eating 1,400 Monday through Friday. And then on the weekends, I do eat more, up to 2,000. I just think that makes it more sustainable. But yeah, things that I am doing though to help me with this 1,400 calorie deficit is I have been focusing on ways to kind of increase my protein and also fiber. So doing things like making a Proffee rather than having, you know, usually in the past I would have my protein shake like after my workout, and then I would have like an iced latte mid-afternoon, which having a latte on its own can be anywhere from 100 to 150, even close to 180 calories, even if I make it at home. So finding ways to be able to combine it is, you know, helpful in cutting the calories. I've also just really taken a look at some of the foods that I'm eating every day, and I've tried to find replacements and ways to kind of swap things out for lower calorie options, but also options that have higher protein and or higher fiber. One thing I will say about coming off a GLP-1, since coming off my GLP-1, I have found a renewed sense of like interest in food, as far as like finding different foods and trying different foods and trying to find different recipes and stuff. I feel like when I was on my GLP-1, I honestly just got to a point where nothing sounded appealing. Like food in general just didn't really sound appealing, so I didn't have the inspiration to really try and go out and find different options and things that I, you know, would want to try that are maybe lower calorie or whatever, you know, more nutritious foods. I just had no desire to do that. And since coming off my GLP-1, I have found a renewed desire and like interest in trying different things. So trying things like Proffee, and yesterday I attempted to make a cinnamon roll chia pudding. It did not turn out. I think I didn't use enough chia seeds, so I'm gonna try it again. I will not give up. But I also bought like some oatmeal stuff and like different things to put in it, and things that I just haven't really had the desire to try to do in the past. I've found myself kind of interested in trying it again. I could do a whole video on things that have changed since coming off my GLP-1, good and bad, obviously, but yeah, let me know if y'all be interested in hearing something like that. Overall, like I said, I just feel like since I have kind of gotten actually honest with myself about what I'm eating, and more importantly how many calories I'm actually eating, and since I've actually been really tracking everything and the scale has started to move again, it has just kind of solidified for me the importance of being honest with yourself on a weight loss journey. Honestly, if you are lying to your tracker, you're really just lying to yourself. And that's something that I have been guilty of in the past, is kind of fibbing on what I'm tracking or not tracking every single thing. And you know, it adds up, and then 3 months go by and you haven't lost any weight. So yeah, and I have no one to thank for that but myself. So like I said, this is just kind of your pep talk and motivation. If you have been not completely honest with yourself about what you've been eating lately and you find yourself hitting a prolonged plateau, it might be time to kind of take a step back and just be honest with yourself and actually really try to hold yourself accountable. And it will be worth it, because you probably will find that if you are 100% honest with what you're eating and you are tracking it and doing what you should be doing, the scale will probably start to move again. Of course, all of this is easier said than done. There's a lot more that goes into weight loss than simply just doing everything perfectly and tracking. And you know, a lot of it is mental, and sometimes I find myself just not in the mental space to be able to track what I'm eating. Like, there are days where I have hard days and I want nothing more than to just rot on my bed and order a pizza. And you know, there are days like that, but I feel like as long as you are not letting that be an everyday thing or even an every week thing, because another thing to keep in mind is that one bad day once a week can derail a whole week's worth of progress very easily. So again, it's like finding that balance. So that's why I feel like for me, cycling my calories to where I do have a little bit of extra wiggle room on the weekends is helpful for me, because I feel like it does kind of give me a little bit of room to add some extra, you know, junk honestly in there that I otherwise would probably end up binging on at some point if I tried to restrict it from myself completely every single day. I feel like for me personally, as somebody who I would not consider myself like a healthy eater, I would say I'm a picky eater. I would say I like junk food, I just do. And so for me, it's just not realistic to say I'm never going to eat pizza ever again, or I'm never going to eat cookies or, you know, ice cream, stuff like that. Like, I feel like I need to be able to have those things in moderation. And so having my weekends where I have the extra room in my calories to make that happen is really honestly key for me, because at the end of the day, the only way you're going to lose the weight is if you can make this a lifestyle. It has to be sustainable. And so I feel like for me right now, this is sustainable. And I feel like, you know, maybe in the future, once I do get to my goal weight, you know, not tracking my weekends and kind of just being more mindful during the week versus allowing myself to let loose on the weekends would probably be okay. I feel like that would be okay for someone who is at maintenance, who is just trying to live life. I feel like I'm just not there yet. And I don't know why in my mind I almost felt like I was there, like, or at least I was acting like I was there. And it's like, you know, you're not there yet, girl. You're just not there yet. Like, you still are not there. You still have to be in a deficit. And, you know, to be quite frank with you guys, eating in a calorie deficit, I mean, it sucks. It just sucks. There's no way around it. You know, you're gonna be a little bit hungry, you know. Obviously, if you're on a GLP-1, that might not be the case. It makes it a lot easier. But for people who are trying to lose weight naturally, you know, for whatever reason, or trying to lose weight, however you're trying to lose weight, you know, at the end of the day, you had to be in a calorie deficit. And since coming off my GLP-1, I am kind of just having to contend with the feelings of hunger again. And that's something that I was not having to deal with for the past 21 months. You know, sometimes I would still get hungry, but definitely not to the extent that I've been dealing with since being off my GLP-1. I will say that I feel like recently, like in the past week or so, I feel like the hunger pains have started to kind of curve off. Like, they're not as intense as they were in the beginning of when I was titrating off, and then like that first week completely off. I feel like that was kind of rough. I feel like it's kind of leveled out now, which is good. I feel it's more manageable. And so I don't know if that's just because of the time that's passed, or if it's because I'm focusing on getting more protein and more fiber in my diet. That could very well be helping the situation. But yeah, I feel like I don't know, I feel like I got off topic. I don't really know where I'm going with this subject anymore. I think I am gonna go ahead and end the vlog here though, you guys, because my camera storage is almost full. And yeah, so if you made it this far, leave whatever emoji this is in the comment section. And other than that, I really do appreciate you guys so much for watching. Happy Halloween, and I will see y'all in my next one.